So I recently received a message from one of my followers on TikTok and it reads, "Good day, Sir Innocent. I'm a graphic designer and your active YouTube subscriber and a Pinterest follower. I have a question that I wish you could answer me. Not considering me as your social media follower and basing on facts and logic. Is it a crime or does it contribute to copyright infringement for a graphic designer to sample craft or work of another graphic designer?" So in this video, I'm basically going to talk about copyright and sampling in the design space. I'm just basically going to base on my little knowledge on this case. This is not going to be a legal advice. This is purely from what I've researched in my 7-8 years in the industry and what you also need to know so that you can stay safe. So this is basically just going to be a rant video and of course some research facts that you need to know. By the end of this video, you are basically going to understand and know whether you should steal like an artist or you should steal like a thief. Let's get into the video. Now let me start off from the definition of sampling. In music, for instance, sampling is basically when a producer takes a part of like an existing music or an existing song and creatively mixes it into a new piece. And we've been seeing that mostly in some Ghanaian musics. I don't want to mention names. Now, the same thing or the same idea exists in design as well. The part where you take elements or pieces of other people's designs or other people's craft and then you mixes it into something creative, something a bit new, more like an inspiration. You take an inspiration. I'm going to talk further about all of these and you mixes it into something new. That is sampling. But here's the catch. There's a straight up difference between inspiration, sampling, and straight up plagiarism. That is straight up thieving someone's work. Let's take them one after the other. All right, let's start with inspiration. Now let's assume that you're about creating a design or something. You go on Instagram, Behance, or even you do a quick Google search. You find 5 flyers or 5 logo designs, and then you pick inspiration from them. You do the research, you study them, and then you pick ideas from each of them, put them together, and it forms something new. That is inspiration. Now, for sampling, you do the same thing like an inspiration or taking inspiration. In this case, you see the way the person designed the text or the way they designed the background, you so much love it. You are just going to pick the same thing kind of and you are just going to change a couple of things and try to make it something creative and new. In this case, mostly you may have to give credit if you don't want to find yourself wanting, but that is sampling. Now, plagiarism. For plagiarism, you don't need to talk much about it. You just take the entire design, the way the person designed the text, the colors they use. You just pick somebody's work straight up and then you credit yourself as the one who did it. That is plagiarism. So now let's bring in the law because that is where things get really interesting. And you'll be shocked as to the amount of money that you can pay for infringing on some of these copyright things that we are talking about. First off, understand that there is copyright and there is fair use. I'm going to explain that. Now, copyright laws protect original works of creatives. So in advanced countries, for instance, people take copyright very seriously. I can't say same for my country, but I'll give you certain instances where the law really worked and people got sued for using other creatives' works. So in as much as you might be playing on some of these things, by the end of this video, I'm sure you're going to think twice about some of these things. So for instance, when you design a logo or a flyer or a brochure, a website, you own it and somebody else can't come and take an entire website of yours, an entire logo that you designed and claim that it is theirs. And that means that nobody can copy or use that without your permission. That is copyright. Now, did you know that Ghana has the Copyright Act 2005 that protects or that states how creatives' works are protected? I'm going to leave a PDF link in the description so that you can go through it. It is a lot and it's stated in segments that you can read and find out which ones work best for you. But let's proceed to fair use. Now, you see, with fair use, it gets a bit tricky. In basic terms, fair use is just a part of copyright, but then in this case, you're allowed to use it under certain conditions. You are using, let's say, the logo for a school project. You are using it for something more transformative, something educational, something that is not really commercial. You can use that. Fair use allows you to do that. And one thing that people also pay attention to is you are not going to use those things, or let's say for instance, or let's say if you are using someone's logo, you're not going to use it to do something that will cause harm to other people. So that is what fair use allows you to do. So now let me ask you this question. Pause and answer that question. Assume you are a designer, you sample someone's work and then you go ahead and use it commercially. Do you think this is copyright or fair use? All right, so once you commercialize it, that is no more fair use. That is copyright, straight up. So now you ask yourself, how are you going to work your way around this? Now, there is this famous book by Austin Klein. I've been mentioning this book over and over on this channel, and I believe that most creatives are aware of this as well. Still Like an Artist. Let's discuss that book. You see, in Still Like an Artist, Austin Klein makes it very clear there is nothing original under the sun. Even the Bible says it. Okay, so in other words, anything that is produced is influenced by something, whether it's nature, whether anything, something must influence your creativity. And that is very true. You know, Picasso even said that good artists copy, great artists steal. But if you take these words on a very literal grounds, trust me, you're going to be in his home by the next month. Those of you who don't know his home, it's a prison. So this is what it actually means. Great artists don't just copy or they don't just steal blindly. They transform whatever they take, whatever they copy, whatever they steal into something unrecognizably new. I don't know if this is making sense. You see a design, you see a logo, you see a brochure, a website design that is very nice and appealing to you. You want to take inspiration from it. You don't just go and copy the entire thing and come and be boasting about it that it is yours. Or better still, it is yours. So if you are grabbing elements, if you are grabbing things from other people's designs and you are just working it just slightly. For instance, you took the entire way the person designed the test. The entire thing you copied it directly. But then you just changed the color and you are trying to convince us that that is inspiration. That is not inspiration. That is straight up theft. Okay. But if you took that and you took your time to study it, you took your time to research into it, restructure it, and make it something absolutely new, then congratulations. That is not copyright. That is creativity. So here are some case studies that I found out. I'll leave the PDF links in the description. Just March 21, 2024, GBC Ghana was found guilty of a music that they used unlawfully by Gamro, and they were sued for that. They paid a huge sum amount of 100,000 Ghana cedis for that instances. I found a couple of them. I'll leave them in the description. I also know one creator in Ghana whose drone footage was used by one of Ghana's TV station without credit or anything. And the person pursued it, sued them, and got paid huge amounts, huge fat amounts. So this is what I'm trying to say. If you are using something that is not yours, you need permission. If maybe you can't reach out to the person, or what you think what you are using it for is just purely educational or something, you need to also credit them. At least that is the least you can do. Some people just pick people's work just like that. They don't credit, they don't do anything. They just repost people's work and other things without anything, and they refer to it as creativity. Bro, that's not creativity. That's total stealing. And the fact that people are not coming at you doesn't mean they will not come at you. Eventually, your time will come. Once they find out, they figure it out, they're going to damage you. And Charlie, if you don't take care, your spinal cord all will damage. I know all these things that I'm saying might scare you to actually stop even taking inspiration from people's designs, but don't trust me. That is not what I'm trying to convey here. We all take inspiration from people's designs, but there are right ways to do it. Let's take a look at some of the ways you can nicely sample people's work or take inspiration from people's work. Number one, study, don't copy. You see, mostly we advise you to take inspiration. So all that you do is you just go and you pick and replicate. But you see, take your time to study the design, take your time to research, pick about 5-6 different designs before you try to make research and get the understanding, analyze the design, get to find out what actually caused the person to use this color and that. That is the more reason why sometimes we don't even convey the right messages, because the flyer that you are taking inspiration from, the colors that the person used, is not matching the brief of the design that you are doing. But because you are just copying it directly, you just go ahead blindly and use that. Take your time to study a design before maybe you replicate it or you try to let it inspire you to create your own. Number two, remix from different sources. I've always said that, for instance, the people that watches my video, there are times people would just follow my tutorials and recreate whatever I created and send it to me. They will send 6 of them and they will be like, oh, Innocent, check these ones for me. Am I making progress? And I'll tell them that, okay, so you send me designs that you actually did without looking at any tutorial. That is where actual growth comes in. You see, you don't need to just be watching Innocent Cable Art's tutorial alone. If you do that, you're going to be forced to copy his style. You're going to be forced to design like me. watch other tutorials, research other tutorials, like read on PDFs, do your research. That is what I'm basically trying to say. Research from different sources so that your designs wouldn't just look like your mentor. Your designs wouldn't just be seen as that big designer in your country or on the internet. Once they see your design, it just gives a vibe of their designs. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say here. Now, point number 3, use free or licensed assets. We are not in a position to buy assets that are licensed or that are paid for. You can use free sites like FreePic, Pexels, PNG Wing. All these platforms are free. I've made several videos on some of them, how to get some of these for free. You can use them to stay out of trouble. You don't just download any image that you see on the internet and use it. In case you do credit it, which will not entirely save you, but at least it will give a sense that you weren't trying to steal or use that without permission. And that brings us to number 4, give credit when needed. Even if these free platforms or these open sources sites that we are talking about, some of them requires that you give acknowledgement to the creators so that people can also see them, because somebody struggled to shoot that picture that you are using for free. Try to credit them. It doesn't take anything from you. So if you are using even free resource from open sources, try to credit these creators as well. And lastly, create your own style. This takes a lot of time, especially if you are beginning, so you might not actually have the time to create your own style right from the onset. But with time and with continuous practice, you're definitely going to be in that stage to create your own style. Just make sure that you study, you read, you research, and you are able to practice so that you can also create your own style. So back to the original question. Is it a crime to sample another designer's work? Well, if you copy without permission, yes. But if you transform and innovate, that is a no. Now, here's a tip for you. If you feel like you are so close to the design that you took inspiration from, this is a question that you can ask yourself. You ask yourself, if I take out the inspiration that I took from, if I take out the main design that I took inspiration from, will my design still hold? There are times you see that if you take out the inspiration that you took from the other person's design, your design can't even stand on its own. Basically, it will just be left with test and all. That is where you need to advise yourself, and you need to come to a realization that maybe you are actually stealing or copying the other design entirely, but you are trying to convince yourself enough that you are taking inspiration. And don't forget this, creativity is about making something new. Yeah, you can take inspirations and find it to make something new, but it's not just about picking things that already exist and just tweaking them slightly and convincing yourself that you've created something new. That is mediocrity. So yeah, given these instances on all that I've said, what do you think about this whole thing? Do you think it is a crime to sample other designers' work, or even is it a crime to take inspiration from other designers' work? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget this, be inspired and don't steal. Because if you are caught, the law will deal with you. I'm going to leave resources, PDFs to some of these things that I mentioned in the description. So if you want to read further on this, you can check the description for all these resources. I want to say a big thank you to Eugene for sending this and pushing me to research on this and coming up with this video. If you have any questions like that as well, you can hit me up on all my social media handles, or you can leave it under the comments of this video wherever you are seeing it, and I'll try as much as possible to look into it for you. Thank you so much for sticking around to watch this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's Innocent here, and bye.